Hi, it's Tuesday, the 12th of January, 2016. A little update here on the markets, financial markets. Friday, last week, of course, we had a supposedly strong jobs data, but once you dissected the numbers, they're really weak and just propaganda. I think David Stockman talked about how if you took the seasonal adjustment off, there's only 11,000 jobs created. So a bit of a fiction that 290,000, I think it was, jobs, non-farm jobs created. The other thing that happened yesterday, quite interesting, was China continued to drop quite sharply. We were down 7% on Monday. And the other thing that happened that caught my attention was the HIBOR, or HIBOR, which is the Hong Kong Interbank Offered Rate. And just like the LIBOR, which is the London Interbank Offered Rate, it's the rate that banks in Hong Kong charge to each other to borrow from each other. And I looked up who makes up HIBOR, which banks give the reference level every day. And there's a lot of Hong Kong based banks, of course, Chinese banks, and even international banks like Citibank. And the interesting about it yesterday that it spiked 9%. It was trading around, I think, 4%. The I would assume it's the 3 month they're talking about, because yeah, that's like the benchmark for the interbank borrowing 3 month rate, and it jumped 9% from 4% to 13% yesterday. So yeah, that was the HIBOR. And I remember very well because I was worked in the markets in 2007 and 8, and I used to broke euro dollar 3 month futures and Euribor futures, and which is a derivative of the LIBOR rates in dollars, or short sterling as well. In sterling, and those rates spiked. Banks completely lost confidence in each other. So that's starting to creep up in China. I've noticed though today the Chinese stock market, recovered a little bit, but not even 1%. Recovered about 0.2%. What are we seeing this morning? Well, the Dow is down about 16 points. Dow future, it's around quarter to 10 in the morning in London. We were down over 150 points earlier in the overnight session. We'll have to wait and see, of course, what happens when New York opens. The pound, British pound, that I look at that because that's where I live in the UK. That's broken 145. It traded down to 144.81. So that's the lowest this year, and it's starting to break like a neckline from a very long-term chart. So the British pound doesn't look very good. And we had some data this morning from the UK, industrial production and manufacturing production. And I was telling my wife about it. She said, "What do you mean industrial production? Do we still have any industrial production in the UK?" But we do. It was expected to be unchanged, industrial production month on month, and it came out down 0.7. So a pretty sharp drop there, or a lot lower than expected. Manufacturing production was expected to drop 0.8, and it dropped 1.2. So yeah, the UK economy, and this is a November number, so you can't go and blame China, for everything. The UK has it coming. We have a lot of debt anyway. So what else? Yeah, gold yesterday, disappointing. It traded around the 1100 level. The I guess the PPT, or the Exchange Stabilization Fund in the U.S. Treasury, made sure gold stayed down. But it looks like, since I made a video a few weeks ago about the manipulation in gold and silver melting away for this year. We have been up quite a bit, even though silver has been capped around 14. A few days ago, last week, we did go up to 1440, but now it's back below 14. So that's a bit disappointing. I still think, they're losing control of the precious metals market. We're now 10.95, so we're up about $1 overnight. What else? Bitcoin, 444. So Bitcoin has been down a little bit from the highs. I think the highs were around 465 or so. I'm not too sure. Today the range is 440 to 450. Another interesting thing about Bitcoin, and I'll put some links below about some of the things I've spoken. I saw an interview, Max Keiser on Alex Jones a few days ago, and he was talking about Bitcoin, and he mentioned a fund he runs with a guy called Simon Dixon, a Bitcoin fund, Bitcoin Capital Fund. And I think that's quite interesting because the Bitcoin Capital Fund, they invest a third into Bitcoin itself, the price of Bitcoin. They invest a third into like startup companies involved in blockchain technology and cryptocurrencies, not just Bitcoin. And the other third of the fund actually mines for Bitcoin. So if you buy into the fund, you get a daily dividend of Bitcoins that they're able to mine, even though it's not guaranteed that they will be able to mine it forever because the cost of mining might exceed the dividend. But right now they're paying daily dividends, and I think they pay it every week. So that's an interesting way to get involved in Bitcoin, more on the speculative side, and also just having Bitcoin. The other thing I checked about Bitcoin, on my blockchain app on my phone, you can check, merchants. Yeah. And it gives you a map of where you live and where there are merchants that accept Bitcoin. And I checked for London, and for such a big metropolitan area, there's very little merchants. Where I live, you have to drive half an hour to find there's a pub that accepts Bitcoin. And then you go into Europe, and there's not many merchants at all. I noticed that in the United States, the Northeast, the Eastern Seaboard has a lot of merchants. But then if you zoom in, you realize there's not that many. So I think, yeah, Bitcoin is still in the big end of the beginning. It's not the end. It's in its infancy, and I think it will become more and more important. I don't know if you remember, I talked a few weeks ago as well about that infographic, how small Bitcoin is, around 5 billion worth, worldwide, and it's just a little dot compared to even gold. Yeah, and I think Bitcoin is gonna become more and more important in terms of, currency, and that will give it value, of course, purchasing power. And the reason I say that is because I think the monetary system we have right now is breaking down. Don't know when it will break down, it's difficult to say. I did grow up in Brazil, and we had quite a few currencies in the 70s and 80s. And it wasn't the end of the world. But now, if the dollar breaks down, that is very serious because it's the global reserve currency. Back in Brazil, you could protect yourself with dollars, so it wasn't a problem. But when the dollar is threatened, that will affect the global economy. People won't have confidence in any fiat currency to trade or produce or work for people. Can you imagine that? In such a specialized modern economy, we do need, a currency people can trust worldwide. Supposedly, we're in a global economy. If we don't have a global currency that people can trust, the global economy is screwed. So that's how I think Bitcoin will become more and more important. The more the monetary system, fiat system, gets under pressure and breaks down, the more it will become important. I think gold and silver will become, will rise up again, and it will be connected to Bitcoin. People will mix gold and Bitcoin and have exchanges where you can keep gold and Bitcoin. I think that's the future. What else? Yeah, and that's about it. I mean, yesterday the Dow finished up about 50 points, I think. It was up and down most of the day, but no traction really. We haven't really seen a nice update this year. And I noticed as well that the S&P only finished up a point. So it was not really that 50 point in the Dow should have meant about 5 points in the S&P, and we didn't see that. Yeah, that's about it. I might do another update later on today, depending what the markets do later on in the US. So yeah, take care. Have a good day. Bye.